show.
Welcome to episode 62 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. If you're a new listener and you enjoy the show, it would be a big time help if you give us a 5-star rating and review on both Apple and Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you really enjoy the content, we would appreciate it so much if you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. All right, everybody, we are down to the final four in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Edmonton Oilers are taking on the Colorado Avalanche in the Western Conference Finals, and the New York Rangers are battling the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals. We will get into all of that, give you our thoughts and opinions on everything happening in the Stanley Cup playoffs, including some thoughts on the Battle of Alberta. We're going to get into some things on this show. I promise you don't want to miss this one. But before we do all that, it is time to welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How you doing, man?
Anthony Bruno, doing very well. As an Ontario boy, I survived the storm, lost some power, saw some trees hit the ground, but we're back doing a pod, so why not have a smile on the face? Episode 62 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast. Shout out goes to Brett Seney, who is currently in the Maple Leafs organization. He's played 2 games with the Toronto Maple Leafs, 0 goals, 0 assists for 0 points. However, he did have a very good season with the Marlies. 62 games played, Bruno, 17 goals, 42 assists for 59 points.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. But before you get excited, Leafs fans, Bretzini is a winger. His height is 5'9", and he weighs in at a mean 156 pounds. So just what the Maple Leafs need, another skilled winger. Why not? Bretzini maybe cracks the lineup next year. Who knows?
And he had a really nice goal in the preseason.
Did he?
If I remember correctly. I remember he scored a sick goal in the preseason this year. That is the one thing I remember from Bretzini. But yeah, I mean, if the Leafs need anything, Lepore, it's definitely another 5'9", 155-pound winger.
All the way.
Giddy up, baby. But Lepore, before we get into what's happening in the Stanley Cup playoffs, another thing I wanted to mention is that during the last couple of weeks, we haven't posted. There was something big that happened in Leafs Nation, the retirement of Jason Spezza.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up. We both love Jason Spezza. I mean, going back to his Ottawa days on the pizza line, as you like to call it.
Yeah.
With Heatley and Alfredson, just how good he was. And yeah, he's going to stick with the Leafs organization as a special assistant to Kyle Dubas. So yeah, shout out Jason Spezza, man. He's the best.
Yeah, we're gonna miss Spetz on the ice anyway. Like, it was kind of cool about the Spezza thing is that, I mean, obviously an older player. He's actually like my age exactly. He's an 83. But in the Twitter world, there's a lot of contrast with Leafs fans. And it seemed like, you know, young and old, whatever takes people had, everyone loves Spezza and was rooting for Spezza. So if he was a guy who you watched his entire career, or he just kind of tuned in, if you're a younger fan and saw him at the end, all positive, man, all positive. I'm happy to say that Jason Spezza was a Maple Leaf.
Yeah, he was awesome as a Leaf, even though he was only here for a few seasons. You could tell, even listening to him in his retirement press conference, that dude just really loves hockey and wants to win so bad. And hopefully at some point the Leafs can do him a solid and win him a Stanley Cup as a member of the front office. So that would be pretty cool. But who knows if that's ever going to happen.
Steve Dangle threw it out there on his podcast. Listen to this one. He's like, he's retired, right? Why not sign him at the deadline?
Hey, that's not a bad idea. If they need an extra body.
I've seen worse shit. And to be honest, it's so gross. Like, what's he stuck at? Like 994 points or 995
points to hit 1,000.
Yeah. Like, oh, God, that's such a kick in the nuts, eh? Like, but
and you know he's going to stay in shape.
Oh,
Like, there's no way in hell that dude is just not going to be working out. I mean, maybe he's not staying in shape like he would to start a normal season, but
Mhm.
that dude is definitely going to be on the ice. He's going to be in the weight room. He's going to be staying in shape. So that's an interesting thought there, Lepore.
Let's
I
do
can
it.
get on board with that take from Steve Dangle.
I'm down.
All right, man. Let's jump into the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. The teams that are actually still in this.
Okay.
But before we talk about the Final Four, we have some thoughts on the Battle of Alberta.
We do.
Okay. Heading into that series, the Calgary Flames, they weren't huge favorites, but they were expected to win that series. They were the better team the entire season. They were the more complete team the entire season. And they beat Edmonton 9-6 in game one. And it looked like Edmonton just couldn't stop anything. Mike Smith looked bad. Defensively, the Oilers looked bad. But then the Oilers just caught fire. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl went absolutely ballistic, combining for 29 points in 5 games.
Craziness.
Against the Calgary Flames. And honestly, I just thought Edmonton was the better team. I thought they flipped a switch. And it happened in game 2. And it just looked like from that moment on, Calgary completely lost their identity, couldn't defend. Markstrom couldn't stop a beach ball. The big boys on Calgary couldn't produce offensively. So shout out to the Edmonton Oilers, who I specifically have been very hard on this season because I thought they outplayed Calgary and deserved that series. And now they're off to the Final Four. And I don't think anyone really saw that coming, maybe except for Oilers fans. But if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are going to continue playing like this, they both have 26 points in 12 games. It's a dangerous team, man.
Bet against them. Yeah. I'll get your opinion on this, Bruno. Is it just me and I can't believe we're saying this, speaking about a Canadian team, but is the media being way too soft on the Calgary Flames? Is it a case there's the Calgary Flames are a cute team, or is everyone just so focused on what McDavid and Draisaitl and Kane for that matter are doing that it's kind of distracting from how shit Calgary was in this series?
I think it's definitely distracting from how bad Calgary was. And listen, McDavid and Draisaitl deserve all the credit. They're putting up numbers that we haven't seen since Gretzky and Mario.
Yeah. Like, and Draisaitl's hurt, bro.
Like, it's insane what they're doing. 26 points in 12 games. Draisaitl had 17 points in 5 games in the Battle of Alberta. Like, who does that?
Yeah, on one leg.
On one leg, exactly. The dude probably still isn't 100% at this point, although he does look pretty close to 100%. But, I mean, I guess we'll find out after the playoffs are over how injured he actually is. But, yeah, it's definitely taken away from how bad Calgary was. Because, like I said, man, I think they completely lost their identity. Like, this was a team that, played I don't want to say low event hockey, because they were a high possession team and they get a lot of shots on goal, but they're a team that's comfortable playing like those low scoring games, great team defense. That first line dominated all season with Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau. And then it just looked like Edmonton completely dictated that series from like game 2 on. It's like Edmonton was in control. They were the aggressor and the Flames just had no answer. And a lot of their top players honestly just weren't good. Straight up.
Even going over their underlying numbers, Calgary looked good on paper, but like eye test, I don't remember Smith being incredible or whatever. He played well, but had you told me that Calgary was going to lose this series in 5, I would have said, no, Smith has to stand on his head. But no, it was bad. I think maybe Sutter got out coached.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really heard that take, but I mean, based on what you said about how they kind of lost their identity.
I've seen people on social media throwing some shade at Sutter for not breaking up his top line. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but they were, people were like, why didn't you try to shake it up and break up Lindholm, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk? Because clearly that line just wasn't producing at the clip they were throughout the entire season. And maybe a different look would have benefited them. But I don't know, man. I don't know if we can throw it on Sutter. I just think across the board for Calgary, it's just what a disappointment that was, man.
Yeah, I think this playoffs, and it's fun for a Leaf fan to shit on another team's playoff performance, but I think this playoffs, all in all, was a fucking huge disappointment for the Calgary Flames. People were picking them to win the Stanley Cup, like legit, the Flames to win the cup. Wildcard team pushed them to 7, and they won in overtime. I mean, Ottinger was bananas, but still. And then they lose in the second round to their provincial rival in 5 games. Just absolutely terrible. And you know the game I like to play on the podcast, right? Imagine it was the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, God.
So we're going to go over some individual numbers here, and we're going to play Imagine it was the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Markstrom in the 5-game series against Edmonton, game 1, that bananas game they won, he got beat for 6, 786 save percentage. Game 2, he got beat for 5, 875 save percentage. Game 3, beat for 4, 882 save percentage. Game 3, game 4, 840 save percentage. He got beat for 4. And then game 5, the elimination game, he got beat for 5 and an 857 save percentage. So not a single game in that series did Markstrom put up a 900 save percentage.
He was awful.
He got lit the fuck up.
He allowed 24 goals in 5 games.
Horrible.
Just awful. And
again,
no
he's a good
excuse for
goalie.
it.
Yeah, he's a good goalie. I just don't know what happened. But let's take a look at the forwards. And everyone knows I'm thinking about Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander. Again, what if it was the Toronto Maple Leafs? What if it was this 4? Johnny Gaudreau, one of the best players in the history of the Calgary Flames organization, going to get paid this summer. In the 4 games after game 1, he had a goal and 2 assists. He was held off the score sheet in games 3 and 4. And he was a minus in every game of the series, except for the game 1 Calgary won. Matthew Tkachuk. Oh, he's a Tkachuk. Heart and character. You need these guys for the playoffs. He had that hat trick in game 1. Give me a fucking break. It was a 9-6 win and he got empty netter. After that, an assist in game 2. And then in games 3, 4, and 5, he was held off the score sheet. If I'm not mistaken, other than that hat trick in game 1, Tkachuk had 1 goal in the playoffs. Built for the playoffs, right? The Tkachuks, they're tough.
He had a rough playoff,
He was a ghost. Tkachuk was a ghost in this series. I'm sure he's going to the table and he's going to get as much money as he possibly can. Next up, Lindholm. From games 2 to 5, he had a goal and an assist and was only on the plus side once. And then this is the sad one, though, bro. Andrew Mangiapane, our paisan, our boy, held off the score sheet in game 2, 3, and 4, and only had he had that 1 goal in game 5, and wasn't a plus in any game after game 1. So imagine that was Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares and Campbell put up a stinker like that. All in all, man, like I was laughing, and it's all about like, how do we make this about the Leafs? They were showing the Flames like the day after they lost, the interviews, the pressers, all that stuff, and they show Gaudreau up there, right? He's on the mic, and they're asking these like easy questions. He's got a smile on his face. This guy with the numbers he's put up is one of the best players in the history of the Calgary Flames organization. Like, I don't think that's a hot take. Okay. They might lose him for nothing, which is hockey. It happens. And it's not easy to trade guys like that when you're a competitive team because you are trying to win. 2 years from now, can you imagine that same press conference if it's Austin Matthews? If the Leafs just say they lose in the second round in 5 games to like Montreal or Ottawa, a big rival, and Matthews is on that stage, he is getting absolutely crucified and there are no smiles. So if you ever need an example of how the Leafs are treated differently and how our media is absolutely bonkers, this is the example. Gaudreau was sitting up there and it was easy as pie. Oh, I like it here, but we'll see. We'll talk with the family. Oh my God. And imagine Dubas. Imagine the questions Dubas will have to answer. People will want his head, even if it's in question. Like, why didn't you trade Matthews or this and that? He didn't get signed. Oh my God. There's absolutely nuts, man.
Calgary's in a rough spot right now, man, because I'm telling you, I've seen some comments from Calgary Flames fans on social media ripping Johnny Gaudreau, saying he wasn't good enough.
Are they pissed? I was going to ask, like, are Flames fans like, I know they lost to Edmonton, so they're rattled as fuck, but like, I haven't really seen like,
I haven't seen a ton of Flames fans pissed off specifically at Johnny Gaudreau, but there have been some that are calling him out. based on what I've seen.
Okay.
In, on the social media platforms that I'm posting on and that I'm interacting with. But I'll say this to Calgary Flames fans, and I said this, I can't remember how many podcasts ago, it might have been a couple months ago. Be careful what you wish for with Johnny Gaudreau if you're going to run this guy out of town, because he is the most important offensive player on this team. And as you said, Lepore, he is one of the greatest players in the history of the Flames organization. And I know he hasn't won anything, but watching that guy through the 5-game series against Edmonton, and sure, you could say his numbers weren't good enough, but based on the eye test, and you could even maybe look at some of the analytics as well. Honestly, I thought he was the only forward who was consistently able to generate offense and generate looks and at least try to create something in the offensive zone. I thought the player who was way more disappointing was Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, ghost, man. I said,
like, that dude did nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even bring, even like from a physicality standpoint, he didn't really do anything. That's the guy that I'd be looking at like, dude, you got to be better. Johnny Gaudreau, 115-point season. I have no idea how Matthew Tkachuk put up 100 points this season, because based on the way he played in that series, I mean, my goodness, he looked like a 45, 50-point player out there. Like, this guy couldn't create anything by himself. I mean, he's done well on the power play. Okay. On the power play, he's been solid. And obviously he plays with Gaudreau and Lindholm, but man, that team without Johnny Gaudreau, Lepore, that's going to be a rough situation. And like you said, they could very easily lose him for absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. He could walk right out the door, and who knows, there's rumors he might go to like the New Jersey Devils or something like that, but it's going to be a bad situation if they lose that guy, man. It's time for a quick break because Father's Day is just around the corner, and our friends at MANSCAPED are here to ensure all the father figures out there are looking daddy material this June. MANSCAPED's Performance Package 4.0, which includes their signature Lawnmower 4.0, is the perfect bundle to tackle any hair from head to toe. This right here is no dad joke. Treat him and yourself and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. You get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code GFP20 at manscaped.com. Lepore, these products are simply the best, man.
They are the best, Anthony Bruno. To everyone listening out there, don't be lame. Don't get your dad a hammer. Don't get him a baseball glove. Get him some Manscaped products. The Lawnmower 4.0, he'll absolutely love it. His balls will be cleaner than ever before, and he will love you for it. So head over to manscaped.com. As Bruno said, GFP20 for free shipping and 20% off.
You said it, Lepore. Get your father what he deserves.
Yes.
All right? He deserves these amazing products from Manscaped. I promise you, he will be happy when he opens up that gift on Father's Day. All right, so get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code GFP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the promo code GFP20. Shake what your mama gave you? No, shake what your daddy gave you.
Nice. Okay, well, let's play a guessing game with the Calgary Flames. Okay, so let's start with Tkachuk. What would you say the over-under is on his deal in terms of AAV?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think
he's going to be a dick like his brother. I mean, or his dad, whoever's in charge. I don't know, but
yeah. So Tkachuk is coming off what, like 7.5 on his bridge deal?
On his bridge, and he's put up 40.
Oh my God. I think it starts at 8 million minimum.
At least. Yeah.
8 million on a long-term deal. But who knows? Maybe he signs like a shorter term deal, like something like Austin Matthews did
to get to UFA.
But man, yeah, that's like, I don't know. After watching him in the playoffs, like, are you just signing a contract, no questions asked, for like 8 to 9 million? Because I think eight is the bare minimum at this point, based on the season he had.
Maybe it's like a total unfair comparison. I'm going to do that anyway. Like, what does brother sign for? 825 times 8.
Yeah,
I don't think is he taking less? I mean, you could argue that Brady's the captain, but
like Matthew, just based on numbers and
exactly
what he's done to this point in his career, has been the better player than Brady Tkachuk.
Honestly, man, if he goes to that table and he wants 10 million, I won't be surprised.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think
he's
going to ask for the moon.
Yeah. And again, it's that whole thing of like how his brother held out a bit. And I think their agent's their uncle too, right? So it's not fun. And even too, I remember, I forget what interview it was with Matthew where he was open about the Brady Tkachuk negotiations.
Yeah.
He's like, we're Tkachuks, we're hard to deal with. We're gonna get what we deserve. So that's when he's talking about his brother. Imagine when he's talking when he's at the table for himself. Oh my God, ugly.
But like, think about it, man. Like, are you giving Matthew Tkachuk more money than Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point and Steven Stamkos? And like, go down the list at some of these other, big name players in the league. Like, can you imagine giving Matthew Tkachuk a $10 million deal and letting Johnny Gaudreau walk? I'm telling you right now, Flames fans, Johnny Gaudreau is your most important offensive player. And I don't even think it's close. And if you're going to commit that money to Matthew Tkachuk and you're going to give him the bag after this playoffs, and you're just going to let Johnny walk, like, in my opinion, Johnny's the guy who should be asking for $9 to $10 million.
Oh, easy. Oh, I'd sign Gaudreau tomorrow for $10 million and based on his production.
So, and again, I know Flames fans, like, they're pissed off still from what happened, but man, like, that's a situation where I'm prioritizing Johnny Gaudreau. But again, it might not even matter because he's a UFA and can do whatever the hell he wants. But that's who I'm prioritizing, and I'm treading very carefully with this Matthew Tkachuk contract. But it's like, we were just talking about Lepore, their hands could be tied because he could be like, look, my brother, who's not as good as me, and he's a captain, he got over $8 million. So if you're not at least giving me $8 to $9 million, then we have an issue here.
Yeah. With regard to Gaudreau, that was my next question. Percentages. What percent would you give he stays in Calgary?
Honestly, man, I have a feeling, God, it's tough. Like, I have a feeling it's 50-50.
I don't give it 50%.
So you think it's even less?
Oh, I think it's less, bro.
So you think he's gone?
I think he's gone. Yeah. I think it's one of those, someone's going to make him. I mean, he's the franchise player in Calgary, but you know where I'm going with it. Like, someone's going to give him like a franchise player contract, like whether it's Philly or Jersey or someone like that. And I'm always the first one to say, people always try to get inside people's heads. Like, you already hear about Matthews. Oh, he's going to move to LA, or like, why do you think that? Like, you don't know him personally, is like what he wants and what he strives for. And I don't know that about Gaudreau. I just think the timing of it, like, he's at least going to listen to numbers.
Yeah. I think,
and all he has one desperate team.
Yeah, no, you're right. I would lean he is leaving. Like, I don't think, maybe it's not exactly 50-50. I would put it at like 53-47.
Oh, I put it like
an
20.
Official.
I put it like 20%. He's
wow. I see. You think he's definitely out the door. But what I'll say is that he surprised the hell out of me this season, because I honestly didn't think it would be possible for him to have the season he had under Daryl Sutter. Because as we know, right, Daryl Sutter's like typically low event hockey, grind it out, defensive style of play. And then Johnny Gaudreau's out here putting up 115 points, which is extremely impressive. So maybe he looks at it and says, this was a pretty good situation for me under Daryl Sutter. I was able to thrive offensively. We were able to thrive as a team. We were one of the most well-rounded teams in the league. So maybe he looks at it from that perspective and says, wow, like, this was actually a really good situation for me. But from the other perspective, man, you just had the season of your life and you want to go out there and get the bag. And if there's a team that's going to just write you a fat check, and whether that's New Jersey or one of these other American teams, then he's going to look very long and hard at that. And honestly, actually, he might even not look that long. He might take 5 minutes and sign the contract with one of these other teams. But yeah, Lepore, the more you kind of convinced me. I mean, I would lean towards he's leaving, but I'm not as 100% as convinced as you are that he's leaving.
I guess I think of it this way, and I would think of it this way with regard to any player. Okay, so if you really, at the end of the day, you and your agent know the types of offers you're going to get offered. And let's be honest here, I'm sure some offers have already been thrown his way in an illegal fashion. Like, this is what we're thinking, Johnny, like, and or to his agent. So how I respond to that is, if you're happy in Calgary, again, there's been negotiations, numbers have popped up. Why haven't you signed already?
That's fair.
So, and like I'd be saying that about Matthews or Marner, one of our guys.
Oh, it's like Tavares, right, with the Islanders.
Exactly.
Same situation.
How many guys? It'd be interesting to see like star players, how often they hit free agency and stay. Stamkos comes to mind. Like he hit free agency and then just signed in Tampa, which shocked everyone. But
a couple other guys, and I know they were a little older at the time, like Getzlaf and Perry.
Okay.
Or at least Getzlaf, I remember he signed, I think he became a free agent and he ended up signing like 8x8.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm right about Stamkos, right? It was in the summer he signed that deal.
Yeah.
That was after the season was done. Yeah. Okay. But yeah. I mean, it's, again, you know, the numbers you're going to get. You have an idea of what your team's going to, like, I mean, your team's put deals on the table. So what, like, why, if you love it there and you believe in it and the money's the money, why haven't you signed yet? So
yeah, it's true. He's definitely going to weigh his options. So we're going to
to
have our eye on that situation, just as millions of Calgary Flames fans will be having their eyes on that situation as well, because my goodness, I can't even imagine what that team is going to look like.
Is it Mangiapane up as well?
Yeah, like just looking at their cap friendly real quick here. Yeah, Mangiapane is an RFA coming off a 30-goal season.
And how much is he getting paid right now?
And he is coming off. Oh, wow. He signed a 3-year deal. Actually, where's his latest contract? Sorry, it was a 2-year deal for $4.8 million.
Yeah. So it's even a question of if they can afford, like, it's a matter of who they want to keep and what they can afford.
So he was making under $2.5 million a season.
Crazy.
He's clearly getting a raise.
Clearly.
And then obviously you have Tkachuk and Gaudreau. And then they still have Tyler Toffoli under contract for the next couple of seasons. Same with Lindholm. But even Lindholm, he only makes $4.8 million, Lepore.
And when's he up?
He's up. He has 2 more years left.
Oh, okay.
But like that's a bargain for a player like that.
But you got to think though. I mean, if their vision was to keep Gaudreau, Mangiapane, and Tkachuk, like you're pushing 30 million on those 3 guys. Like you're 25 million at least.
Yeah, that's a tough cap situation, and it almost felt like this was the year, almost like they're all in year.
Yeah.
And I know they didn't make like a crazy big splash at the trade deadline. Like they picked up Tyler Toffoli,
which was nice. Yeah.
Which was nice. But it just felt like looking at their cap sheet that they really, felt like this was the season that they needed to win, because they're going to have some issues here. So
yeah,
we'll see how that plays out. Is there anything else about the Calgary Flames you want to get off your chest?
No, it was fun. Always fun to rip on another fellow Canadian team that underperformed in the playoffs, but I think we did it justice.
Yeah, I think.
And we were right about Daryl Sutter.
Yeah, we ended up being right, everyone.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Eat it.
But Calgary Flames, man, disappointing. So disappointing. I had bigger hopes for them in this playoff. But I mean, they're just going to have to figure it out in the offseason with all these contracts. But Lepore, we got to talk about Oilers versus Avalanche.
Let's go. Can't wait.
It seems like this is me just kind of surveying social media, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. It seems like a lot of people.
All the reliable sources.
What's that?
I said all the reliable sources.
Yeah, all the reliable sources. But I like looking at that stuff because it shows kind of like what hockey fans are thinking.
Yeah, the mood.
I'm not going to I'm not talking to like Chris Johnston or any of these other analysts. And again, you could read their work, listen to what they have to say on their platforms. But looking at sort of like the general fan consensus, it seems like a lot of people think that Colorado is just going to dust Edmonton in like 5 games or less.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. As hard as I have been on Edmonton this season, like my general thoughts on the series to start things off, Lepore, like I think Edmonton's going to be able to score on this Colorado team. Okay. Like, I don't think Colorado's like this unbelievable, like defensive stalwart. Like Darcy Kemper has struggled in the playoffs. Like compared to Mike Smith has had a much better playoffs than Darcy Kemper. But the issue that I have here with Edmonton, and again, I think they're going to score. I think Draisaitl and McDavid are going to find ways to put up points and generate offense. Same with Kane and even Hyman for that matter. But I'm just thinking, like, how on earth are they going to defend this Colorado team consistently? Because this isn't going to be like the Calgary Flames situation where Their top line goes cold and their secondary scoring was invisible. Like Colorado, Lepore, I was checking. They have on average outshot their opponents by 13 shots per game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I watched the Blues series pretty attentively, and I love the Blues. Like I love their players, I love their style of play, like their identity, and I was semi rooting for them, and they put up a good fight. But watching the games, they were never really in it. Yeah. Like you do like that second look, like what, the shots are 24-8 for Colorado, and then they just keep coming at them in
waves.
And people forget Binnington played really well in that series, really well in that series. So yeah, I mean, Colorado's a lot, man. Like you talk about teams though, and like it's their year and it has to be their year. Kadri, I mean, everyone assumes Kadri's gone, and McKinnon, he's gonna double his salary.
Oh my god, he's gonna get next year David money.
Yeah, and no one would question it. And I saw the number. I think they have like 9 or 10 UFAs. So like the team's gonna look different. And I'm not saying it's this year or bust, but
I'm going through their cap sheet right now. Andre Burakovsky, UFA. Cogliano, who they picked up at the deadline, UFA. Kadri, UFA. Valerie Nichushkin, UFA.
That's a big one.
Same with Jack Johnson. I mean, that dude's washed at this point. But Josh Manson, UFA. Arturi Lehkonen is an RFA. And and McKinnon has one more year left on his contract after
$6 million, 6.5 million.
Yeah, 6.3 million. That's just unbelievable.
Makes no sense, but okay.
Yeah, so this team is going to be almost in the same spot as Calgary.
Yeah.
Next season. And, they have more cap space, obviously, because McKinnon is still not making an outrageous amount of money. But this is a really good team. And you said it, Lepore, like watching that Blues series, the Blues are a good team. And I think the Blues are actually they're a deep team, too. Like you go down their roster,
right. Yeah.
And you look at them, even like offensively, the Blues quietly this year, I believe, were the third highest scoring team in the NHL in goals per game.
Okay.
They had the second best power play behind the Leafs. Their penalty kill also gets really good special teams, really good offensively. And Colorado just completely dictated that entire series. Like even in the games Colorado lost, they're like out shooting St. Louis. They have the puck the whole time. That team is just such a freaking buzzsaw and so difficult to deal with. And I look at Edmonton and it's like, okay, Mike Smith, you've been really good, honestly, for the most part. Like if you go look at goals saved above expected, and even just save percentage, Mike Smith has been really good.
Yeah, he's decent. He's like third or fourth. He's
having a really nice playoffs, but I don't know how he's going to continue that against this Colorado team. And I have no idea how this Edmonton blue line and this Edmonton team defense is going to be able to contain wave after wave of this Colorado attack. Like, I just think it's going to be very difficult. As good as Edmonton's been playing, like, how do you stop this Colorado team?
I think Kemper is the X factor of the series, just for him not to lose the series for Colorado.
Yeah.
Because the way I see it is that will Colorado lose to Mike Smith? Like weirder things have happened, but I just can't see it. But what could happen is Kemper just fucking loses it. Because I can't. Edmonton won't beat Colorado. They won't outplay them. They won't outshoot them. They won't have more puck possession. No. Colorado is going to have the greater share of the chances. It's just going to be if Edmonton can be opportunistic and capitalize on the power play and get some saves out of Smith. But I think it's a really tough ask for Edmonton. And you touched on the D. I look at the D. I see Keith, Ceci, and Barry, and I see a lot of problems against a Colorado team. It's just they're too much. They're too deep. They're too fast. Too many weapons. And and too, like the center depth. Kadri and McKinnon, at the end of the day, not that they're McDavid and Draisaitl, but because of them, and I mean the other players on Colorado as well, I'd like to think as much as you could against any team, the Oilers will spend some time in their own end. And specifically McDavid and Draisaitl. It won't be guns a-blazing offensively every time every time they're on the ice. So when we saw that in the Toronto series against Tampa, they were able to keep Matthews and Marner in their own end quite often because they're as deep, if not deeper, than Toronto. So that's where I fear it for Edmonton. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be easy. Like Edmonton's got that weird mojo right now, and the crowd will be crazy for games 3 and 4 in Edmonton. So I think we'll see a good series. I really do.
Yeah. I think it's going to be close. And I like that point you brought up about Darcy Kemper, because he has not been sharp in the playoffs, and he hasn't had to be, because the team in front of him is just a friggin' buzzsaw, and it doesn't even matter. But if he's going to continue putting up the numbers he's putting up, I believe he has like a 904 save percentage. And even looking at his underlying numbers, his goals saved above expected are in the negative. Like, he hasn't been good. So if he's going to have like a Jacob Markstrom type series, then this thing might even go 7 games. If he's
who thought we'd be saying that a Jacob Markstrom series as a bad thing.
Unbelievable, man. Yeah. Like, if he's going to allow 24 goals in 5 games, like Jacob Markstrom did in the Battle of Alberta, then you can guarantee this thing is going 6 or 7 games. But yeah, I was even looking at Colorado's like time on ice for the playoffs. Cale Makar and Devin Taves are both playing over 25 minutes a game in the playoffs.
And it's not going to go down against McDavid. And
like, they are going to be on the ice for essentially half the game. And you could guarantee that Jared Bednar is going to be putting them out there when McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that matchup's going to work out, because when Cale Makar and Devin Taves are on the ice, they have the puck a lot. And when McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice, those guys have the puck a lot. So that's going to be an interesting battle, almost more interesting in a way than maybe the McKinnon versus McDavid battle, which is incredible in itself, 2 superstar players. But I want to see who ends up controlling most of the play when you have that Makar and Taves pairing on the ice with those 2 monsters. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But want to give an official prediction for this one, Lepore?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'll say I will say a hard fought 6 games, Colorado in overtime in game 6, just to break the hearts of Oilers fans everywhere. And I'm saying this very respectfully. I think the Oilers put up a good fight, and unlike the Calgary Flames and unlike our Toronto Maple Leafs, I think a conference final berth and losing to the Colorado Avalanche in hard fought 6 games is a good showing from the Edmonton Oilers. So that's my pick. Game 6 in Edmonton, McKinnon overtime to win the series.
Lepore, just so the people listening and watching know, we do not reveal our predictions to each other before we come on this podcast.
Yeah.
I have the exact same prediction.
Overtime as well?
I have the Avalanche winning in 6, not necessarily in overtime, but I do have the Avalanche winning in 6 on the road in Edmonton. I think it's going to be a hard-fought series. The way that McDavid and Draisaitl are playing right now, putting up unbelievable numbers. It's hard to see that team going down in like 4 or 5 games. And Edmonton fans, I'm sure, are yelling at us right now. They're going to point out the way that Edmonton played Colorado in the regular season, because there were some close games. There was a game that Edmonton outshot Colorado. I was checking last night. I want to say it was one of the overtime games they played. They outshot them like 50-34.
They kicked their ass one game. I think it was like 6-3 or something, or 5-3 or something. Yeah.
So, and that just shows like Edmonton, it's like I said, I think they're going to be able to score on this team, but there's going to be issues defensively. So we'll see how Edmonton can handle that. But I have the Avalanche in 6, winning it in Edmonton and moving on to the Stanley Cup final.
Here's a weird one before we move on, Bruno. So the Oilers played the Avalanche. I forget where I saw this. The Oilers played the Avalanche 3 times this year. Draisaitl and McDavid. Take a guess at how many goals they scored in those 3 games.
Like combined?
Combined.
I should have looked at this since I was looking at this stuff last night. But I'll say 4 goals combined.
0.
They
did not score against Colorado in 3 games.
And they still put up a good fight against Colorado.
Yeah. So you can look at it either way. So what I just said is useless. It's useless all around.
Yeah, that's wow. They didn't score a single goal against Colorado and played them pretty well in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine those 2 not scoring a single goal in this playoff series. Can you imagine that?
I forget what I saw. It was like one of the betting things. They were talking about the previous series, and there was the bet of like McDavid. You could bet on McDavid getting 0 points in the series, which is like blasphemous, but you could bet on him getting 0 points in the series. And what was hilarious was that I forget the number that had the same probability of how many points he would get, like the same bet was something like 30. So they said like it was as probable for him to get like 30 points in 7 games compared to getting 0 points. Like just hilarious, like how much respect they gave him. I mean, he deserves it.
Yeah, he's been a monster. And again, Edmonton, you always have a chance with the way that McDavid and Draisaitl are playing. That's it. You have a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I look at it, at least.
Fucking right.
All right, Lepore. Let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals now. This is an interesting matchup.
I think so too.
Because you have this Tampa Bay team that gets through the Leafs in a very hard-fought series in 7 games, coming back to win game 6 and 7 after they were down 3-2. And Braden Point, of course, goes down in game 7 against the Leafs, misses the entire second round series against the Florida Panthers, who I've been saying since day one, I didn't believe in. And they finally got punched in the mouth and faced a little adversity, and they got their asses swept in 4 games and scored 3 goals. So they do that without Braden Point, but it's like, can they continue doing this? Because now they're going up against this Rangers team. And again, you could say the Rangers weren't as good of a team as Carolina, like just in terms of puck possession and defensive play and all that. But the reason I picked the Rangers to win that second round series, I just like their star power more. Like you look at Panarin, Zibanejad, Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin, like they got some dudes. Chris Kreider, 50 goals this year.
You mean compared to Carolina?
Compared to Carolina.
Yeah.
That's why I picked the Rangers. I actually went back and I watched our podcast because I didn't totally remember what I said, but I had the Rangers in 7 in the second round.
Well, a humble brag. Just so
I went brag. I had the Rangers.
I accidentally on purpose listened to our podcast just to confirm that I was 100% right.
Carolina, there was just something about them. They almost reminded me of like the New York Islanders in a way, where it's like they had some good players, really good all-around team, but like they're lacking that that extra punch.
Maybe it's a starting goalie.
Yeah, that's fair. No, Freddie
someone
Anderson.
Pointed it out last night. The Rangers have played 14 playoff games and faced a starting goalie in 1 game.
Yep.
Make of that what you want.
Those are the facts. They faced. I guess they just in the Pittsburgh series, right? Because Anderson hasn't played at all. They played Ranta the entire second round, and then the other that third string goalie they have. What's his name? Peter Choikov, or how to pronounce his
poor
last
guy. Is it just me, and like you can say this about every playoff, so people know where I'm going with this? It seems like at least the story in a lot of these series, if not all the series, has been goaltending. Like even going back to the first round, like Ottinger just playing absolutely crazy, and then moving forward, it was like, okay, Carolina's on their 3rd string. Even before Pittsburgh was on their 3rd string. And then you have like Shesterkin, Vasilevsky. There's question marks with Smith in this round. What's going to happen? We just finished talking about Kemper. It feels like all the talking points are just about goaltending. And maybe people would say that's the case every year. But I just find like now, like kind of it's all we're talking about, right? And McDavid scoring 1,000 points. It
has been an interesting year for goaltending. And, people are ripping on the Rangers, saying they haven't faced a goalie like Louis Domingue in the first round, and then Antti Ranta. Like Ranta's actually had a good playoffs.
He played well before game 6. He was a mess.
Yeah.
Like, game 6, he was
at the end of that series. He fell apart. Then obviously he gets injured in game 7, but just looking at his overall numbers, he was solid, man. Like he did more than enough to propel that team to the conference finals. They just obviously couldn't win game 6 and 7. And I think that Carolina team was just lacking. They're lacking like a true star, because as good as I think like Sebastian Aho is, and even like their rookie Seth Jarvis, you got Teuvo Teravainen.
I fucking love Teravainen. I have a player crush on Teravainen.
Like they got good players, but they need like a star player. Like if you insert like a legit top 10 player into that lineup offensively, like that team is looking so much scarier than they are. But
yeah, it's kind of funny, eh? Like the cap and all this stuff. At the end of the day, I mean, you look at the champs, the teams that make it deep. The best teams have the best players.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at the teams at the top of the standings. Well, they're the teams that have Kucherov and Crosby, and here we are, McDavid. Well, they got the best, and they the goalies, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin. They're both in the conference final. I mean, pay big money for big players. Shouldn't that work?
It's supposed to work, Lepore. I heard it's supposed to work, but apparently when you wear blue and white and have a maple leaf on your chest, it just there's just a curse
no hope
going on. So
no hope.
That's what I've come to realize. But yeah, man, no, this is an interesting series because a lot of people forget that Tampa does not have home ice in this series.
Correct. So
this is another situation, even going back to the Colorado Oilers series, everyone just thinks Tampa is going to just crush the Rangers. They just crushed Florida in 4 games, back-to-back champs, no problem. But they don't have home ice. We don't know if Braden Point's going to be back. I was reading the latest updates. Like John Cooper's hoping at some point he'll be back in this 3rd round series, but honestly, no one knows. Like this is a serious injury he's dealing with. And again, we don't know exactly what the injury is because this is the Stanley Cup playoffs for you. They never disclose anything.
Yeah.
But man, without Braden Point, no home ice advantage. And again, they didn't have a home ice advantage against Florida either. But this is not a slam dunk, man, for the back-to-back champs.
I don't think so either. Prediction time?
I'm ready to give my prediction for this series.
Okay, you go first this time.
All right. So I really like this Rangers team. I picked them to beat Pittsburgh in the 1st round. I picked them to beat Carolina in the 2nd round. I love their top end talent. I love that they played the way that they played post trade deadline. I think Shesterkin's a star. Zibanejad's had a big playoffs. Kreider scores big goals. But saying all that, Lepore, man, it's just very, very difficult for me to bet against this Tampa Bay Lightning team.
Yeah.
Like after what I saw that they did to the Florida Panthers without Braden Point as the road team to sweep them. Like I'm thinking back now to 2020. They win the Stanley Cup without Steven Stamkos, who played 5 shifts. And now they sweep Florida without Braden Point. They got through the Leafs without Braden Point as well. I have Tampa Bay winning this series. And I'm going to say that they do it on home ice in Game 6.
Okay. Honestly, if I'm going back and forth on this series, and it's like the brain versus gut thing, whereas my brain is like, I'm not betting against John Cooper. I'm not betting against Vasilevsky. I'm not betting against Victor Hedman. I don't care about home ice for the Rangers. Like Tampa doesn't care. If there's one team that doesn't, and they're well rested. But then there's the part of me that thinks hockey's a weird sport, and Tampa Colorado final is almost too predictable. So there's a part of me that
wouldn't it?
What's that?
That would be sweet, wouldn't
Colorado,
it? Avalanche, Tampa Cup final.
Oh, well, again, those are the 2 teams, but I'm going to say, I think this is a real tough one. I think this is a real tough one. I'm going to say Rangers in 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're on my Rangers now. I'm off my Rangers, and Lepore is on the Rangers for this.
And I just finished saying that's not what I think's going to happen, but quite often I bet against what I think's going to happen, if that makes sense, because hockey's so wacky. So if I have to give a prediction, I'll say Rangers in 7, Madison Square Garden going absolutely bonkers. Shesterkin having the series of his life. Maybe he takes the belt from Vasilevsky. Ooh, now I'm getting ahead of myself. Then next week we'll record in Tampa's won 4 straight Vasilevsky 4 shutouts because he's listening, right? But yeah, let's have some fun. Colorado versus the Rangers in the Stanley Cup final.
I like it, man. Honestly, the way the Rangers are playing, and like I said, I look at the talent across that roster and Shesterkin and net, they got way more than a puncher's chance to win this series. Like I think they have a better chance to win this series than Edmonton does of beating Colorado.
I think so too. I think most people would agree with that. I mean, I think the betting odds say that too, but yeah, I think most people would agree with that. Because again, like right off the bat, Shesterkin, you have a chance. Yeah. I mean, people can say McDavid, you have a chance, but I mean, people would know what I'm referring to. And I'm talking about the goalie. So yeah. And the home ice advantage thing, you mentioned Point. I mean, I think he's done. That's a groin or a hip. Like that's a soft tissue injury. So I think,
like even if he does return, I can't imagine he's going to be 100%.
Yeah. His reaction on the bench when he got hurt, he knew.
Yeah.
Like guys know when they seriously hurt themselves, especially at the pro athlete level, because they've probably done it before. Like knowing that difference between being hurt and being injured. And he knew he was injured.
Yeah,
like,
that's a great point. I think he knew in the moment as well, like, this is a long-term injury. This isn't a situation where I'm going to be back in a few days.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, I mean, I also like the point you made about Madison Square Garden, because that place gets so loud, and I think it's going to be a real advantage for the Rangers. So yeah, Lepore, man, I picked Tampa, but honestly, I would not be surprised one bit if my New York Rangers get through and advance to the Stanley Cup final.
You ever been to a game at MSG?
I haven't.
I have not either. It's on the list, man.
I haven't. So I know I'm speaking as if I've been to like 7 playoff games at MSG, but just watching those games on TV and just the energy in that building, man, even like throughout the season, my goodness, it gets loud in there.
Yeah. Best goal song in the league.
It's up there.
It's up there. Leafs need a new one. Man. Leafs need a new one, by the way.
The Leafs goal song is an abomination.
Is it an abomination? I think it worked for a short time.
It did. Okay. It worked for a short time, but they got to switch it up. It's almost like how everyone's like, trade someone, make a move, switch up the core here. It's like, switch your damn goal song. What the hell, man? How do they still have the same goal song?
Like they need, I mean, I love Hall & Oates, but little nerd admission there, but they need something intimidating. Like they need something like it's like hip hop or heavy or rock or deep, like the Rangers. Oh, like after every goal, the crowd can get into it. We're not jumping up and down, dancing to Hall & Oates, guys. Like, come on.
It's honestly, it's become like kind of soft in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like we need a better song here. Again, I think it's a good song too, but it's overkill now, man.
Yeah, they had Zombie Nation for a while, and Boston use it. Does Boston still use it?
I think they do.
Yeah, I think they do too. We need a new one.
Yeah,
memo to Brendan Shanahan. I'm sure you have a lot on your mind, but this is of the utmost importance right now.
Yeah, never mind trading William Nylander or one of the other members of the core four, or
figuring out the goalie
situation. Change the damn goal song, please.
Yeah, please.
Signed, Leafs Nation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lepore, before we end this podcast, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup if you had to pick right now?
Colorado's going to win the Stanley Cup.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was Colorado's like an insta pick right there.
Yeah, it's
no hesitation.
It's like that history of hockey thing where teams eventually they seem to get it done. They have some disappointments along the way. People count them out. They think their window's closed. And then they just seem to nip one. We saw it with Tampa. We saw it with St. Louis. All those years they couldn't get past Chicago. We saw it with Washington. I just think Colorado's do. They got everything. As much as you can in a cap league, they have everything. And the timing's right. I think they got, and this is not an insult to Edmonton, but as far as Western Conference final opponents go, that's not so bad. It's not so bad to get Edmonton. They are going to have home ice advantage. I'm just looking at previous years. I mean, like when Chicago was at their limit, or LA, like even say Vegas, like a healthy Vegas team. They got the route, man. And I think they're clicking. And I think Nathan McKinnon is just so fucking determined right now. Like it's easy for people to say, oh, he just turned on the switch. No. He turned on the switch. He is dialed in. And I always remember his quote, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago when they were ousted. He said, like, I've been in this league, I think it was like 7 years or X amount of years. He said, he's like, I haven't won fuck all.
Yep, he did say that.
And you could tell that it gutted him. Like you could see the emotion on his face. Like, I haven't won. I don't give a shit about anything. Like, I want my name on the cup. Right. And two, right? Like, East Coast boy, trains with Sid.
There you go. He's rubbing off on him, man.
Friggin' right.
Sid has all this hardware in his trophy case, and McKinnon's sitting there with nothing, essentially, like he said. So I think that's really, really motivating him. And because him and Sid are close, and like you said, they train together. Those guys both from Nova Scotia. Like
they work at Tim Hortons together.
Yeah, exactly. They work in the Tim Hortons drive-through together. So
did you see that one commercial they did together? I'm sure you saw it. Hilarious. So people were driving through, ordering their coffees, and they did hockey trivia. They're like, oh, I figured you get free coffee if you answer the question correctly. And it was in Cole Harbor. Like it was in their neighborhood. And the guy's driving through, and Sid says, who won the Rookie of the Year last year? And the guy got it wrong. Okay, I forget who he said, but he got it wrong. It was McKinnon's dad.
Oh my God.
And McKinnon had won it.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
And he's like, Dad, it was me. Like he was reacting. So funny.
So good.
It's okay. No, my dad wouldn't remember if I won it either. So.
Yeah, same with my father.
Yeah, or my Italian father would have given me shit for only winning the scoring race by 10 points. And not 20 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's Italian fathers for you. But no, you said it, man. I view this Colorado team in the same light as Tampa. Like I remember going into the bubble, I picked Tampa to win the Stanley Cup because I'm like, this team is so good. They've gotten so close. The timing is right. They have all of these star players on the roster. Like at some point, this team's going to break through.
Mm-hmm.
And Colorado lost in the second round 3 years in a row. No one thought they were going to lose to Vegas last year. I shouldn't say no one.
Well, they were up 2-0, man.
They were up 2-0 and then just completely shit the bed, which was crazy to see. But again, that was a really solid Vegas team. And they're matched up against this Edmonton team now, as well as McDavid and Draisaitl are playing. Like Edmonton hasn't gone through the tough times. They made it to the second round once with McDavid when they lost to the Ducks in 7 games. But since then, they've missed the playoffs. Like obviously they're on a run right now. But I think this Edmonton team, as good as their top guys are, like I don't know if they're quite ready for what's about to come.
It's like I say, teams always seem to win a couple years after they're supposed to win. Like Washington mentioned them before, like the 65 goal year for Ovechkin, President's Trophy. They put up like 120 something points. That wasn't the year they won. It's always a couple years. Like Tampa, the year they got swept by Columbus. Like that was their historic year. It never happens that way.
It's always the same thing, years even after. With Florida this year. Everyone's like, oh, Florida's going to go right to the Cup final.
Can I? I'm going to have my take here on Florida because we haven't recorded since the end of that series because of the power outage. And if you're insulted by this, I'm okay with it. For anyone out there who was confident in the Florida Panthers and bet on the Florida Panthers, you haven't been watching hockey for the last 20 or 30 years. The team that scores 1 million goals, that's the track meet team that goes crazy at the deadline, never wins. And I don't have an explanation for that, but you know what the stroke was for me when I'm like, they're not going to do it. When they signed Gaudreau, I was like, no, it's too much. Like kind of like how Calgary added to Foley. That was nice. Look at the moves Tampa's made. Add to your depth, like solidify your lineup a little bit. Sherrod and Giroux, I'm like, no. And just the trade they made for Sherrod, I was kind of like, fuck you, you're dumb. You don't even
terrible trade.
You don't even deserve it. Now, was it a first, a prospect, and a fourth or something?
Just a disaster.
And see those numbers on him. He was
their worst defenseman.
He was their worst defenseman. Underlying numbers, he was their worst by far. Like, what a joke. But Florida, man, like I said, if you thought this team was going to win the Stanley Cup, you haven't been paying attention for a long time because for some reason, and again, I don't really have an explanation for it, that team never wins. Never.
Yeah. And no, I 100% agree with you. I've been talking about the Panthers on a number of the podcasts we've done, leading up to the playoffs all throughout the season. And another way I looked at, people thought I was crazy. It's very rare that teams go 0 to 100. And I know it's hard. It's like, well, Bruno, you can't just base it on history, but it's very rare that you see a team go 26 years without winning a playoff series and then winning the Stanley Cup. And I look back in
you're making Leafs fans very excited.
No, I even said the same thing about the Leafs at the time. I remember, like it's hard to see the Leafs go 0 to 100. Like they got to get over that hump first.
Yeah.
So do I think the Leafs are going to win the Cup next year? I mean, it's unlikely considering they haven't got over the hump. But I went through the cap era, Lepore. The only team that went like more than, I believe it was like 2 or 3 years without winning a playoff series and then winning the Cup was the Kings.
Yeah.
It was the LA Kings. They were the only team that did it, like in the entire cap era. So I was telling people, like, look, this is the history of this. Call me an idiot if you want, looking at history and telling you what typically happens with these sort of teams. And then, of course, Florida gets swept in the second round and their offense goes dry.
Even with Florida, even beyond like playoff success, like winning rounds, last year they made the playoffs, lost to Tampa, and that's it, right? I mean, they were trash before that. So to me, it's more that trajectory of like, you're bad and then you win the whole thing. Like, no. It takes some wounds along the way, but
this year, and this is going to be a wound for them, right?
Fucking right. They should have lost in the first round. If that empty net would have went in for Washington, they were done. They were down 3-1.
100%, man. That empty net goal, it like grazed the outside of the post. And then Florida comes back. They tie the game at 2 with like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. They win in overtime, or else, like you said, they would have been down 3-1 to the Capitals in the first round.
Yeah, man.
And probably would have been done in round 1 as the president.
I would have loved that. I not that I dislike Washington, but I just don't cheer for Washington too often. I wanted Washington to win that series so bad. Call me a hater, call me jealous, whatever. I just fucking wanted Washington to nip Florida. I guess it's to get everyone to shut up about the Panthers and just all that shit they did at the deadline. Like, go screw yourself. Go in the first round, right? Fucking.
I love it, Lepore. I love.
Sound like a true Leafs fan right now, eh? That's us versus the world. I don't want any success for anybody else.
We want every team to fail miserably. Besides the Toronto Maple Leafs, who've been
what's worse? We'll finish with this again. I was about the Leafs. Is Tampa winning the cup? Is that a good feeling for Leafs fans? Because it's like, wow, we lost to the champs in 7, or is it a kick in the nuts? Because it's like, wow, we could have fucking won it.
I'm kind of torn on it, because if they win the cup, we'll be like, wow, look, like the Leafs lost to the best team in the NHL.
Yeah.
But I'm still bitter because we've talked about this on our last couple of shows. Like, I think the Leafs were the better team in that first round series and they found a way to lose. So to me, it's a little bit more of a kick in the nuts, like what could have been. But then again, it's like, knowing the Leafs, are we that confident they would have won the Stanley Cup? Like, maybe they get to the cup final. Yeah. But like, are you confident in the Leafs beating Colorado at that point? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly possible, but
can you imagine, man, like the what ifs, right? So I'll say it. So the way Florida showed up or failed to show up in the second round, I'm not going to write the check for $1 million to bet the Leafs would have won, but it's not a hot take to think the Leafs would have beat Florida. And if we were sitting here, I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, imagine the Leafs had beat Tampa, beat Florida, and we were sitting here waiting for Rangers or Carolina. I was like, man, I'd be confident. Like I'd be
that
feeling
series
good.
Would be a wrap.
And think of the media right now, man. And for anyone thinking that the NHL is fixed or whatever. Okay, so Rogers has all the rights to the NHL on TV and all that stuff. Imagine right now it was Leafs on one side and Oilers on the other side. The possibility for a Matthews versus McDavid. Oh my God. But
that would be incredible. What could have been, man. What could have been. But
the story of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That should be the book. What could have been.
Yeah. We could be sitting here, honestly, for the next like 25 years doing a podcast, and they just keep losing in the first round.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, why not?
But anyway, Lepore, you think Colorado's going to win the Stanley Cup. As we sit here today, I also think Colorado's going to win the Stanley Cup. So we'll see how this plays out. Good luck to all the teams and fan bases still involved. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap this up?
I'm just stoked, man. Like, I'm really looking forward to these two series because I really and truly don't know what to expect. Like I do in the way of like result, like Tampa and Colorado were favored, but there's going to be some weirdness and randomness to these games, or you maybe see like a 3-1 series comeback or something. Like, because even two, right? I guess with the exception of Colorado, I guess even Tampa, like jumping out to a big series lead. I mean, let's say Colorado was down 3-1 the series. You're counting them out?
No chance.
Especially with home ice advantage. Tampa can be down 3-0. I'm not counting them out. So I think it's going to be fun. And I hope they're long series. I hope they're good long series so we can really sit back and enjoy it. But yeah, I'm just stoked, and it starts tonight. So let's do it. How do you feel?
That's what I'm rooting for as well. I just want to see really good hockey. I want to see the best players at the peak of their powers. I want to see, like you said, 2 long series here. I don't want teams to get swept. Like, I want to see really good hockey in the conference finals. And it's going to be interesting, man. Like you said, I don't think it's going to go exactly as everybody thinks it does.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that all plays out. But like I said, good luck to all the teams and fan bases still involved chasing that damn trophy.
How does it feel?
Oh, man. Must feel pretty good, eh?
Oh.
Oh, well, anyway, that is going to do it for episode 62 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. Once again, if you're a new listener and you enjoyed the show, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review on both Apple and Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you like this show, then smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. So for Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno, and we will see you in the next one.
Enjoy the conference finals, everybody.